All right, welcome. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on a piece of technology that is literally all around us, but almost completely invisible: the broadcast transmitter. We're going to dig into the incredible technological shift that transformed it from, well, brute analog muscle into a super sophisticated digital brain. And just so you know, what we're covering today is part 32 of a 40-part series all about modern broadcast transmission. You've seen these towers a million times, right? They're perched on hillsides, standing tall on top of city skyscrapers, just silently pumping out the invisible signals that power our radios and our TVs. They're just a constant, familiar part of the landscape. But here's the crazy part. While those steel towers look exactly the same as they did decades ago, the technology humming away inside them has gone through a complete and total revolution. It's a change that has totally reinvented broadcasting. So what on earth happened? Okay, to really get this, we have to travel back in time a bit. Let's call this first era analog muscle. And as you're about to see, it came with some pretty big analog-sized problems. Now, before we even talk about the hardware, we gotta get our heads around one core idea: modulation. See, at its heart, broadcasting is all about taking a simple, powerful radio wave, we call that the carrier, and stamping information onto it, like the sound of a voice or a song. That whole stamping process, that's modulation. In the old days, there were really two main ways to do this. You had AM, or amplitude modulation. Super simple. You just made the carrier wave bigger or smaller to match the sound. But any electrical noise, like a nearby lightning strike, could mess with that size and bam, you get static. Then there was FM, or frequency modulation, which was way smarter. It kept the power the same, but wiggled the frequency of the wave instead. This made it way more resistant to noise, which is why we got that clean, high-quality sound from FM radio. Now, the hardware that made all this happen, it was all based on vacuum tubes. In these things, they were absolute beasts. We're talking massive, shockingly inefficient equipment that ate up enormous amounts of power. In fact, they often made more waste heat than actual radio signal, and they ran on lethally high voltages. Keeping them going was this constant, expensive, and really specialized job. There just had to be a better way. And of course, there was. This is where the revolution kicks in, the moment where digital brains started to replace all that analog muscle. It's really a story about how ideas from the IT world completely turned broadcasting on its head. The absolute game changer was the solid-state transistor, specifically a type called LDMOS. These tiny, super reliable little things replaced those giant, hot, fragile vacuum tubes. All of a sudden, transmitters became modular. You could literally hot swap parts out while they were still on the air. They ran on safe, low DC voltages and were built to be rock solid, needing very little maintenance. And the scale of this change is it's mind-blowing. The new brains of the transmitter, these digital parts, went from being room-sized monsters to these compact, cool-running circuit boards you can literally hold in the palm of your hand. But look, this wasn't just about shrinking the hardware. The real magic, the secret sauce, was in the software. This is where something called digital signal processing, or DSP, comes into play. It basically took all that complicated analog radio engineering and turned it into a really, really complex math problem that could be solved billions of times a second by powerful little computer chips. And this just perfectly sums up the core idea here. As the source material says, the convergence of IT and RF technologies creates both opportunities and challenges. All of a sudden, the broadcast engineer wasn't just a radio expert. They had to be an IT nerd, too. So what does this all mean for the real world? I mean, what are the actual payoffs from this smart upgrade? Well, it delivered some huge benefits, both for the broadcasters and for us, the audience. Well, first up, efficiency. Get this. A case study looked at a station that upgraded from an old tube transmitter to a new solid-state one. The result? A jaw-dropping 42% drop in their yearly electricity bill. I mean, that is a huge deal. And that percentage, it's not just some abstract number. It translates into real cash. For that one station, that efficiency boost meant savings of over $11,000 a year, just on power. Now imagine that scaled across thousands of stations. But hey, it's not all about the money, right? For us, the listeners and viewers, the payoff was huge. It meant crystal clear digital sound with HD radio. It meant stations could suddenly multicast, squeezing 2 or 3 different channels onto a single frequency. For TV, it brought us sharper digital pictures, and now it's paving the way for 4K. And it's the reason you can now see the artist's name and album art right there on your car's radio display. And think about the engineer. Their job completely changed. No more driving up a snowy mountain in the middle of the night to check a meter. Now, they can just log into a web browser from anywhere in the world and see every single detail of how the transmitter is performing in real time. This is the exact same kind of remote management tech that runs the world's biggest data centers, like the ones from Google or Amazon. The tools of the internet were now fully baked into the world of broadcasting. So, where does that leave us today? Let's take a quick look at the journey that brought us here and maybe get a little glimpse of what's next for the future of our airwaves. This whole thing didn't just happen overnight, It's been a steady march. Way back in 2002, the FCC gave the green light for HD radio. Then in 2009, that was the big one. The US shut down all its analog TV signals. More recently in 2017, the FCC approved next-gen TV. And right now, we're seeing that technology roll out all across the country. And all of this leaves us with one really cool question. This whole silent revolution, from analog muscle to digital brains, has completely changed how we get our media. And as broadcasting keeps borrowing more and more tools from the internet, how is our experience of just turning on the radio or TV going to change next?